Hello there, y'all. I'm Rain and this is Fennec Fables, where we delve into fun things about tabletop role-playing games, including prompts, ideas, stories, or in this case, systems. This is going to be part 3 of a series I'm doing about Pokemon Tabletop United. It's not a requirement to have seen the previous videos, which should be popping up in the right-hand corner right about now, but it is helpful to get a gist of what we'll be talking about in this video. If you want to keep up with the future videos, I highly recommend you subscribe so you don't miss out on any cool systems or world building ideas. The prior video had a quick overview of all the classes to help folks get inspired about ideas they could have for their own trainers. I know that I have quite a few that I'd like to try out. With the first video covering a good portion of the key rules, though I could not do every single one, or it would have been a very long video indeed. I still recommend reading the book, but that video handled the key things that the system is based around. But now we will be talking about one of the most fun parts, that being making your trainer and getting to have your first Pokemon, your starter Pokemon, statted out and ready to go. In PTU, you get to play as a Pokemon trainer, and unlike most TTRPGs, you're actually expected to multi-class, building a wholly unique trainer unto yourself. I'm going to recap a few things before we get into the nitty-gritty. Each of the various classes have things that they are particularly focused on, called their roles. And in the book, they will have descriptions listing what roles that class excels in and how much out of total of 5 that class has. These roles are active Pokemon support, which tends to have your trainer actively doing things to assist your Pokemon, usually involving giving orders and manipulating the scenario. Passive Pokemon support, which has you preparing your Pokemon ahead of time with buffs and other trainer features. Crafting, which has things about building or preparing items. Trainer combat, for those that want to get up in the thick of a fight themselves. And travel and investigation, for those looking to record and discover things around themselves. You don't have to stick to any one role, but knowing where you want to focus can help when you're deciding which classes you're interested in. Just remember that you get a maximum of 4 classes to make your trainer, so choose wisely. There are rules in the book for if you'd like to train out of something though, so don't be too worried, but just keep it in mind. The level cap on a PC is 50, which gives you a lot of time to discover what you're interested in as your trainer develops. As a bit of advice, be sure to discuss the type of game that you'll be playing in, as certain things will be more likely to appear in some games. You don't want to build a full contact martial artist in a campaign that will primarily feature only league sanctioned gym battles, or to have somebody focus on the occult and then not have any of that crop up at all. I'm going to be using the most recent 1.05 Smart Excel sheet to demonstrate building the trainer for everyone. You can use paper sheets if you'd like, but with how often stats can change, the Excel sheet is the preferred option in my opinion. I'm going to go over the general steps first in order and then show you the actual process of applying it on the sheet. To build a trainer, you will start by taking a mixture of things from the following categories, being class features, general features, training features, and edges. This is where it all comes together. At level 1, all trainers start out with every skill at level 2, which is called untrained. These skills determine how many dice you roll when performing a skill check, ranging from 1d6 at Pathetic to 6d6 at Master. You then take a background. You can either make one yourself or take one from the book. This background will have you then pick 3 of those skills to drop down to level 1 Pathetic, because after all, we all have a weakness when we start. And next you'll pick 1 skill to rank up to 3, Novice, and 1 skill to rank up to 4 to be Adept. Keep in mind what classes you want to join in on for prerequisites when you decide on these. You'll then have access to 4 edges and 4 features. Be aware that to take a class, you must always take the first class feature to unlock the class, and then progress onward meeting the prerequisites as you go. Some edges have level restrictions, so you won't be able to pick certain edges from the start, and you can't use the edges to rank up anything you set to Pathetic during PC creation. You can choose to try and get started in 4 classes, or to focus in only on 1 or 2 at the beginning. The rules recommend that you can swap between applying edges and features so that you can meet the prerequisites for things as you go along, so do whatever makes it easiest for you to build your trainer. Be sure to keep an eye on the features you take, as some also give you bonuses to stat points to apply. You also get one of the 4 training features for free, which will have the training tag, and you don't have to worry about if it matches the prerequisite for this particular one. These effectively are a boost that you can give to your Pokemon after taking an hour-long extended action, usually done when you're XP training. To train them, though, remember you can only do this equal to your command rank. The cool thing is you can also issue a command using this feature in combat to apply the buff a second time and stack the benefits. Next, you'll handle your stats. Pokemon and trainers alike have 6 stats, those being HP, attack, defense, special attack, special defense, and speed. Stats are very important as they decide things like your movement, your evasion, your defenses, your HP pool, and the bonuses you'll apply to any attacks. Try and figure out what focus best suits your goals as a trainer. Every trainer starts off with 10 HP and 5 in every other stat, and you then get to apply 10 more points to any stat you wish, though you cannot apply more than 5 of these extra points to any one stat during PC creation. The final step is to figure out your derived stats, which is just the fancy way of saying your movements, size, weights, and such. If you're using the Excel spreadsheet, it will handle all this math for you, but if you're playing on paper, the formulas for it are in the book. For example, if you're figuring out what your movement speed is, it is going to follow this calculation on screen, which will use the ranks you chose for athletics and acrobatics. The last step for trainers aside from describing yourself is purchasing your starting items, but that one is going to vary by table, so I'm going to leave that to y'all. My general recommendation is going to be on getting balls, some healing items, and maybe any gear that fits the game you're running. If y'all are exploring a lot, tents and cooking tools may be good, but if you aren't leaving the city or town, then there's no need. As you level up, you will gain either a feature or an edge, alternating on even and odd level ups, with certain levels giving extra bonuses, so be sure to refer back to the leveling chart when you gain a level. With all that sorted, now on to actually making an example trainer with a quick start PC. I have to give a shout out to my friend Penny Blake, who I've been having fun with chatting about this system, so in their honor, I'm going to be making a ghost type focusing trainer who also has a little magic on their side. For that, we're going to be using the Type Ace class using the Ghost section, which has a focus in passive Pokemon support and active Pokemon support. We will also be taking Hex Maniac, which has a 5 in trainer combat, meaning that this trainer will be effective in both league sanctioned battles, but also be able to take care of themselves in a fight. I'd start off by making a background, deciding what I wanted to drop, deciding on athletics as I don't really see them as being that focused in it, followed by combat as I don't think they'd be particularly good at throwing a punch, and finishing off with Tech Ed as I take them as more of a physical dusty tome type of trainer. These 3 skills will get lowered down to 1. I then have to decide which skill I want to set as novice and which to adept. Here's where I recommend checking out your prerequisites. As you can see, Hex Maniac requires at least a novice in Occult Ed, and Ghost type is also going to need at least novice in either Intimidate or Occult Ed, so you don't need both. In this instance, I'm going to assume that the campaign is going to have some occult leanings, so I'll set my Occult Ed at Adept, and then my Command at Novice. This will help with raising Pokemon as you can train up to your Command rank for both Orders and EXP training. So in that instance, you will then go over to here and type in all those little decisions that you've just made. You'll then go over here and adjust the numbers to match the level of the thing, going from 1 to 6, low being Pathetic, 6 being Master, but we will not be reaching that stage just yet. With the skills decided, we get to name our background, so something like Occult Fanatic should be suitable. After this, since you're allowed to take features and edges in any order, I'm able to pick up the training order and be ready to take both classes I'm interested in. We'll start off with the Ghost type Ace. You'll see that there are 2 types of prerequisites for this class. This doesn't mean that you have to meet both of them, just that you have to be able to fulfill at least one of them. We will be using the second one as our starter will be a Ghost type, meaning that we will fulfill this, and we will also have the skill appropriate to the level, which just means that we need the Elemental Connection Edge. Fortunately, it has no prerequisites, so we can take that edge. You start off by typing it here, Elemental Connection, and as you'll notice, the number changes, so you always know which amount of edges and features you should have for the level you're at. You then go down to this tab right here, which says Edges, and type that in as well. Fortunately, it also has a section for notes, so you can type in Ghost. Elemental Connection is a class or a feature that you can only take once, so it's very important to keep an eye on it. Now that we meet all the prerequisites for the class, you're then able to go back to the trainer section right here and type in Ghost Ace, or Type Ace Ghost. Then you'll go down to features like this and just type in Type Ace, and then make a note of Ghost as well. Automatically, it'll fulfill all these little details right here for you. As you see, it'll tell you all the little details you get about those features and edges in this little section that says Effects, and it also tells you any frequencies or actions if it has anything. In this case, adding one of those things costs you 2 tutor points, and it'll be an at-will extended action, meaning it takes at least an hour. To round us out in Type Ace, we flip over to the Ghost Ace section. You'll see that the prerequisites for this one all build up like a ladder. So we just take the first feature, which is Ghost Step, which is quite handy for getting Pokemon out of a tricky spot, disappearing without a trace. So we'll just make it a little bit easier ourselves and just type in Ghost Ace or Ghost Step here, which gives you the feature. You can go back to your trainer, and you just type Ghost Step here to keep track of it. That's 2 features and 1 edge used up. So let's check out Hex Maniac now. We'll see that we already meet it, so it's just a matter of typing it into the sheet with the added bonus of an extra HP stat for free. So 1 HP stat goes here for the feats, and then we type in Hex Maniac here, then go down to features and type in Hex Maniac again, which will automatically fill it out. It also shows you any stats here, so make sure you don't forget that. The class Hex Maniac is special in the fact that it also gives you an ability. Between Cursed Body or Omen, I particularly prefer Omen, so then we're going to go down to your trainer combat right here. You're going to scroll down all the way down to abilities, and you're just going to type in Omen, which automatically adds it to your sheet. Like Type Ace, this one also has a ladder-like progression, so we'll be starting off with Hex Maniac Studies. When something shows you a ranked block like this, it means there are multiple options and you can retake it multiple times, with the options expanding as you progress up to the cap. Taking this first rank grants us either another +1 to HP like so, which we're going to do like this, going back to the trainer, marking that this is now 2, and then you're going to add in Hex Maniac Studies 1, and then going down to features and doing the exact same thing. When we took this one, it allowed us to take 2 moves from a list. Of those ones, I decided that I particularly like Will-O-Wisp and Confuse Ray, as they have great range and some nasty effects if they land. Hex Maniac doesn't get a directly damaging move until later on, so this is a very versatile status afflicting class, which they should be as a witchy class. You'll then go down to your combat section again. Right up here where the moves are, you'll type in Will-O-Wisp, which automatically gives you all the stats and stuff for it, and then you do the exact same thing for Confuse Ray, and it'll fill it out automatically for you. That's all 4 of our trainer features done and dusted, so time to figure out what to do with our remaining edges. I recommend seeing what other people in your group are doing so you don't go all in on the same skills. It's good to have some overlap, but you don't want to have an area left fully ignored. For this one, I'm going to use a cool little niche ability called Tag Scribe, which is a fun little edge that lets us craft cleanse tags, which are useful for stopping Pokemon or people from phasing through areas, allowing normal or fighting type moves to hit a ghost once, or since we have a rank that's high enough, we can also use it to remove negative statuses like cursed, suppressed, or disabled. A very flavorful ability which has some great uses if you want to be a ghost hunter. So you'll just put that right here, and then pop down to the edges again and type that in here. And there you go. With the last 2 edges, I'll snag some utility. I'll take Train the Reserves, which is why I set Command to Novice. This lets us train double our command rank for XP training, which means a full team of 6 at this level. You'll also have some strong Pokemon in no time, so best to get out there and hunting. So we'll type in Train the Reserves here, and back on the main spot just again, just to keep track of it. To finish up, we'll take basic skills to move our untrained perception up to Novice, which should help us keep a good lookout for some spooky monsters. So you type in basic skills here, and then you'll move that right here for perception up to 3. And then you just type in basic skills, and you just put perception here to keep track of it. If instead your game master likes using the survival rules for scouting, then I'd swap it for that instead. it's best to check in with your game master just to be sure. Thankfully, that's all the edges and features handled, so the next step is to decide where I want to put my stats. We got 2 free HP points from our class features from Hexmaniac, so we'll add that right up here to the features spot. Now, this is my own personal experience, but I find that speed is very important. So I'll be putting 5 into speed, and I'll put the other 5 into HP, making us a very bulky and very quick trainer. So you just go like this and decide from level up, so 5 HP there, and 5 speed there. This will automatically change the stats for you, which is why I recommend the Excel spreadsheet. Since you can use speed for either evasion, this does help us avoid some danger, but also be quicker in a fight. Much like your Pokemon, your stats affect aspects of yourself, so be mindful of where you place them. If you're using the paper sheet, you'll have a short list of calculations you'll need to do to get your capabilities done, but it won't take more than a minute to finish up. Fortunately, if you're using the Excel spreadsheet, it does it automatically for you. For example, it automatically does your HP, your overland speed, your throwing range, long jump, swim, and all that. Since we lowered our acrobatics and athletics, we're not going to have as much of a speed as many others, but that's okay. With your trainer completed, it's time to get to the most important part and the thing that so many of us end up obsessed over: the Pokemon. In Pokemon Tabletop United, all Pokemon start off with the same general information found in the Pokedex. That will change as you train and evolve them. The Pokedex entries will cover the important things about them, but the key things you will need at the start will be its base stats, ability list, capabilities, skills, and its move list. Generally at the start of the game, each trainer will have 1 Pokemon at level 5, though this can depend on the game, with some dropping you into a more advanced group with more Pokemon at higher levels. Generally, outside of a few exceptions like carrying eggs, you're going to be limited to 6 personal Pokemon at any one time. Anything extra will get sent to your box after getting caught. All Pokemon start off with the same base stats for their species. These stats will adjust given a Pokemon's nature, generally increasing one stat and lowering another, though some natures raise and lower the exact same stat and so do not change. When using the Excel spreadsheet, if you type in the species of a Pokemon, it will automatically handle entering all this for you. Like your trainer, Pokemon also gain stat points to apply as they level up, though unlike trainers, they must follow the base stat relations rule. Essentially, when you apply stats, the highest stat must remain its highest overall, and the second highest stat is its second all the way down to its lowest stat. If 2 stats are the exact same number, they can differ as long as they don't overlap the stat that is higher than them. For example, if one stat is at 10 and you have 2 stats at 9, they can increase as long as they still remain underneath the one that's a 10. Some tables ignore this rule, but I leave that for your table to decide. I'm going to assume you're following it for the rest of this example just to cover my bases. Like your trainer, your Pokemon stats decide their total HP as well as their bonuses to damage rolls, how much damage they can mitigate via their defenses, their initiative, and also their evasion. For a quick recap, when a Pokemon or trainer is being attacked, you take the defense matching the attack being used on them, or speed, your choice, and that is their evasion. For every 5 in that stat, up to a max of +6 evasion at 30. You can only use 1 stat for your evasion. Similar to trainers, Pokemon have stat points to allocate equal to their level +10 to apply, so set them as you please. Next up is abilities. All Pokemon can have abilities, though unlike in the games, they can have more than 1. Each Pokemon at level 1 gets to have one of its basic abilities. Then at level 20, it can pick a second from either its advanced or basic, and at level 40, it can pick any third ability from its list. This leads to a much wider pool of options, so be sure to check them out and figure out what you think makes for the coolest combination. Up next is their capabilities, which include their various movements such as overland, swim, jump, and for some, their fly and levitate speeds. This will also be where things like their dark vision and other cool special abilities will be, such as phasing for ghosts and glow for Pokemon that put out light. Be sure to check them all out and see what your Pokemon can do. Next up is skills. Much like your trainer, Pokemon also have skills, though most are more narrowly focused than trainers, though some may have unique skills depending on their situation. Finally, we have the move list. This will cover the moves it will learn via level up, but also contain things that they may get from training machines called TMs, hidden machines called HMs, and move tutors as well as things they may have from breeding via its egg list. Unlike in the video games, Pokemon can have a total of 6 moves in Pokemon Tabletop United, though some abilities and features may adjust this, like Cluster Mind. Pokemon can learn moves outside of their normal level up list. through various means, though be aware there is a cap of 3 from outside its normal level up list. Typically, if a Pokemon learns a move via outside its normal level up list, and then reaches a level where it would learn that move, naturally, that move is then removed from its 3-move cap. For example, if a Pokemon would learn Hyper Beam at level 65, but you teach it to it early via TM, as soon as it reaches level 65, that Hyper Beam no longer counts against its cap. Using a TM, HM, or having a move tutored typically uses up a resource called a tutor point, which a Pokemon starts with a single one and only gains another one every 5 levels. Once a tutor point is used, unless specified otherwise, it is gone forever, so be sure before using them up. Much like trainers, Pokemon also can use these tutor points to take on little changes called Poke Edges. These act similar to trainer edges, but are exclusively for Pokemon. Some have level requirements or other prerequisites, but allow you to change Pokemon even further. Some notable mentions are improving a skill, letting you ignore one of your attacking stats' base relations rule, and upon reaching level 60, letting your Pokemon have a 4th ability. I highly recommend checking them out as many are literal game changers. Each time your Pokemon levels up, it will gain a stat point to be allotted following the base relations rule. Though if it evolves, I find it's best to just handle that first, as each time your Pokemon evolves, its base stats will change, and you get to reallocate its stat points to match this new base relation. In addition, your Pokemon may learn moves below its current level that it could not have learned prior, which, I might add, is so helpful in adjusting playstyles. For example, if a Pokemon evolves and at level 1 in its new form it would learn a move that it didn't already have, you can choose to learn that move in place of something you already have. Last up in this section is going to be a mention of loyalty. As we all know, the power of friendship is a key thing in Pokemon, and this is represented by their loyalty levels. It is typically a secret value, but I find most game masters prefer to just tell players, as it keeps less bookkeeping off their plate, as PTU is already a very involved game. In the most simplest terms, loyalty indicates how much a Pokemon likes you. Loyalty, of course, comes from rank 0 all the way to rank 6. Loyalty primarily controls whether or not you need to make command checks on a Pokemon for rank 0 and 1, which essentially require you to have done something absolutely horrid to them, like destroying their eggs before catching them, or abusing them severely, which I really hope my viewers would never do. Everything from loyalty to beyond is free from command checks, though 3+ is when cool things happen, as at certain loyalties, Pokemon will try to protect their trainers or even allies from harm. Getting to these higher ranks usually result from roleplay, care, and getting through major events together. There are of course other things like how to capture Pokemon, disposition, fishing, and more in-depth exploration of capabilities, but those can be easily found in the book. I do not want to take up your time with this. Now to show you how to set up your starter Pokemon. Typically, starters are given much more freedom on how they start out, as it's going to be your very special bonded Pokemon. This is up to you, your game master, but I find it's not a big ask to let you choose the nature of your starter and the gender if that matters to you. You can also choose almost any Pokemon as a starter, within reason of course, so don't go out there asking for Mew or Giratina, y'all. But typically, it's a good idea to pick one with 3 stages. Some game masters may be trying to replicate a region or doing their own thing, so best to check in. In this example, we knew we were starting off with a Ghost Pokemon due to the class requirements, and what better Ghost pick than the OG themselves, Ghastly. If you're using the online Excel spreadsheet, you're going to then start off by grabbing Pokemon template, which is going to be this little spot right here, duplicating it to make a copy of it, and then I recommend naming the duplicate the name of the Pokemon you're starting with, in which case this is going to be Ghastly. Now, if you're using the paper sheet, you'll be writing in all the base stats. So for Ghastly, the base stats will be 3 HP, 4 attack, 3 defense, 10 special attack, 4 special defense, and 8 speed. The Ghastly family line has quite a few moves, though it won't be learning many damaging moves till later on. Unlike in the games, Ghastly actually can fully evolve into Gengar without having to trade, which is really nice. Since Gengar has a mix of physical and special moves, we're going to try to make him a balanced Pokemon from the start. So for the nature, let's give him a plus attack and lower special attack. That way we don't have to tank any of his much lower stats. In this case, you will want to do an adamant nature. So we just go up to the top right here and you type in adamant. It'll then automatically apply this to its stats if you're using the Excel spreadsheet. If you instead want to roll for stats, you'll roll a d6 twice, with the first one being the stat that you raise and the second stat being the one that goes down. You just go that way by going from the top to the bottom. 1 is HP, 2 is attack, 3 is defense, 4 is special attack, 5 is special defense, and 6 is speed. It's a rather simple one to keep up with. As you can see, his stats adjusted when we changed his nature here. So We then set his experience to 40, which will make his stats and his level jump to 5. At level 5, that gives us 15 stat points to work with. It's level plus 10. And that's quite a decent amount, so let's see what we can do with this here. Since he's level 5, we will only be having 3 moves outside of its struggle attack, so let's put those in first so we can see what we're strategizing around. Checking the chart, we'll see that the moves it can learn at this level are Hypnosis, Lick, and Spite. Hypnosis, Lick, and Spite. Since we're following the base stat relations rule, the highest base stat always has to remain the highest, following so down. So let's put 3 in its speed and special attack. Special attack right here, and speed. Hopefully we can afford a TM or a move tutor along the way to get a good special attack move early. Next, we will put 4 in attack to power up its Lick, but keep that stat 1 below its highest stat. Next, let's put 2 into special defense and into regular defense to try to make a good bulk. To finish things out, we'll add the 1 additional stat point left to HP. He won't be a tank by any means, but he will have a decent amount of hit points, and that means he'll also be able to attack things fairly regularly. Fortunately, the Excel sheet will handle all the math for us, but if you're using a paper sheet, the book will have all the formulas for HP and such, though fortunately things like movement and skills are already in the Pokédex file. In there will also be things that you'll find about the capabilities. For example, Ghastly has Dark Vision, Dead Silent, Invisibility, Phasing, and the Underdog keyword, which applies to a few different Poké edges. Dead Silent means that Ghastly does not make any audible noises such as breathing and such. Invisibility means that for a short period of time it can become invisible, though it does have a cooldown. And Phasing means it can go through solid objects, though it does take damage each time it does so. All capabilities are in the book, so if you're ever unsure, don't forget to reference it there. Since Ghastly is only level 5, we can only take the basic ability, which in this case is Levitate. We enter that into the ability section, which is going to be right here. It also applies any bonuses automatically. In this case, Levitate would give you a Levitate speed of 4, as well as making it so that you're immune to ground type moves. Since we already had a Levitate speed, it will instead increase our Levitate speed by 2, giving it a total of 6. Which means he's quite the speedy lad. If using the Excel spreadsheet, it will automatically tell you the multipliers to set up whenever receiving damage from certain types of attacks, following the damage calculation. For example, since Ghost type is weak to Dark, any damage they take from Dark types will be multiplied by 1.5 after applying your defenses, so be sure to keep these types in mind during fights. If you're using the paper sheet, there's a handy chart, or you can use the type calculator, which I'll have linked down below. Be sure to keep in mind how dual types may interact. Next, we have Loyalty. Typically, most starters begin at 2 Loyalty, but I'd say 3 wouldn't be an awful thing to ask the GM for if they're going to be your buddy. To finish off, there are going to be skills. The Excel sheet will automatically apply them. If you're using the paper sheet, you'll need to add in the skills. Generally, most Pokemon will have education skills at Pathetic, with a few others have being at Untrained or Novice. But some may have higher skills denoting their focus. If your table decides you had time to prepare for your journey, and you'd already had your Pokemon, you could also apply the bonuses you had from trainer features like the Type Strategist or Last Chance ability we got from being a Type Ace. Or if there was a Poké Edge you wanted to spend your lone tutor point on, though I'd suggest holding out on those until you're sure what you wanted to do. But with that, we've made your trainer and got them set up with your first Pokemon. Isn't that cool how we have a witchy lass and her Ghastly ready to go out and explore the world, hunting down spooks and specters? It'll be a hard journey, but that's why you'll have your fellow traveling companions. I wonder what sort of wonderful stories y'all will tell together. What sort of trainers do you think you'd want to make for your first journey? I'd love for y'all to share in the comments down below. It does help me out and please the YouTube algorithm. If you can, a like, share, or especially subscribe really helps out as I work on getting more of these videos out. I've been working on my way to 500 subscribers, and each new subscriber brings a smile to my face. If you enjoy answering TTRPG prompts or questions, please join me on Twitter or Blue Sky where I post daily, which is in the description down below and linked on the main channel page. Who knows, your responses may be part of a future video. If you have any suggestions for future topics, I'm always interested in what folks would like to hear. You can send them either by email or joining the Discord channel, where you can chat with me and fellow cool people. Thank y'all so much for this, and here's a photo of my dog. I hope these ideas were useful to you, and I hope this video helps you tell better tales. Bye!